Hey everybody, my name is Gretchen and this is Cover Art, a series where I talk about video games I'm currently playing while doing my makeup at the same time. Normally my makeup is based loosely on the video games I'm playing, and today we are talking about Cult of the Lamb. Before we hop on in, I just want to say I literally haven't done this in like months because my life has been like crazy. My landlord was like, hey, I'm raising your rent $200. And I was like, hey, if I have to pay $1,800 a month, I may as well have a freaking mortgage. So by some grace or act of kindness by the universe, God, whatever, somehow managed to buy a house. So that's wild, and that's what I've been busy with. But I always meant to come back and do this. And so yeah, glad to be back. It really has been like nonstop though. It's been so busy. I've never had a home before. I'm living that homeowner life now, so it's exciting. So anyways, let's get into it. We're going to be talking about Cult of the Lamb today. It's a pretty much brand new game. It just came out on August 11th, and while it did just come out, I can't tell you how many hours I've already put into this game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I should also probably mention, if you are deeply religious or easily sensitive to like darker content and themes, it is called Cult of the Lamb, so I'm sure from that alone you can kind of guess where I'm headed with this, but that's your little, I don't know, sensitivity warning. If this isn't your jam, totally fine, just letting you know. It is pretty dark, actually. It's pretty grim. So this is a rogue-like action adventure. It was developed by Massive Monster Games, or I think they just go by Massive Monster, and published by Devolver Digital. Devolver Digital has done a ton of games, and I've talked about them before. So they published Hades, for instance. And Hades is actually going to be, or rather I should say, this game is going to be really similar to Hades. You start the game off as a scared little lamb, like literally a little anthropomorphic lamb. And the art style is very cute, like your character's very cute. Oftentimes the colors are really bright, but sometimes it's funny how quickly it changes the aesthetic and color scheme. It can go from being really bright and cheery at one point to completely dark and grim and gruesome in another. But it's actually pretty seamless, so they did a really good job with that. But yeah, you start the game as a little lamb who's literally being led to the slaughter. You're being forced to walk up this bridge that's like bloody and old, and it's got bones and dead bodies all over the place, and these cultists are forcing you to walk up to this sacrificial point in the middle. And when you get up there, you're met by 4 giant monstrous creatures. They kind of look like different kinds of fish almost. One kind of looks like a squid, one kind of looks like a frog. They're just like these giant Cthulhu-like Lovecraftian things. And the game introduces them as bishops of the old faith, whatever that means. And they basically tell you that you've been selected to be a living sacrifice to satiate the one who waits below. So they're sacrificing you in hopes to calm this 5th being known as the one who waits below. So you are immediately killed and sacrificed, and immediately wake up in this like cloudy realm, and as you start to walk forward in that cloudy realm, you meet the one who waits below. He's this giant cat demon looking thing, and he's all wrapped up in chains, and he's got these like 2 cat demon attendants at his side. Again, it's actually a very cute but also pretty like dark aesthetic. He basically tells you that the bishops of the old faith are idiots because they were trying to like keep him contained and chained down here, and they were hoping that sacrificing you, the little lamb, was going to be able to like keep him chained up. But really now all they've done is sent him a conduit. So you make this deal with the one who waits below, and he says basically, I will return your life to you, but you have to start a cult in his name, and you have to build a cult base. You have to garner followers and get faith from them and loyalty from them, but at the same time you have to keep them alive. You have to keep your cult members alive, and you have to keep them satiated to the point where they don't rebel against you. So, you know, you're a quiet character, you don't really say anything, you're still a lamb along for the ride. You make this deal, and you're brought back to life pretty much immediately. So as soon as you're resurrected, you've got these newfound powers, you have abilities, and you're able to now, you know, fight back against the bishops of the old faith, get revenge on them if that's how you're viewing it, and basically go through their 4 realms to kill them and just, you know, build up your cult for the one who waits below. You meet a character named Rateau, who is like this old rat guy, and he's basically your tutorial provider. He basically is like, hey, I was you once, you know, I tried to do the whole cult thing, but I failed, but let me at least show you how to get started. So Rateau then leads you to your base of operations, which is going to be your cult home and camp, where you keep your followers and where they work for you. You are taught how to first gain followers, how to provide for them, so they need to eat. They have certain needs, like sleeping as well. And you're also taught how to get them to work for you, to build other structures, gain resources, gain faith, and things you need to level yourself up so that when you go out to fight, to defeat the bishops, then you're, you know, stacked and ready to go. So yeah, that's basically how the game starts. You get followers, you go out, you fight, you come back, you take care of them. If they have any requests, then you can do requests for them. If they are unhappy with how you're running the cult, or you're not like taking care of them, then they can dissent, and if they dissent, they just kind of like run around and try and turn other members of the cult against you as well. You can gain as many followers as you have beds for, so you can also, you know, make beds, you can make a cooking area, which you need in order to feed them, obviously. The more you progress, the better recipes you get and better ingredients you unlock, so that they're less likely to just immediately get sick when you make them food, because that's a possibility too. If it's like a low quality thing, they can just get sick randomly because you fed them something nasty. You can build a refinery, you can build like a grave site, you can take confessions, like there's a temple or a church where you go in and you can do a sermon every day just to bolster the faith that they have in you and the one who waits below. It's a really simplified version of a cult. I mean, it's kind of what it comes down to. But it's cute. They're woodland creatures, and you don't have to sacrifice them if you don't want to, but if you want to sacrifice them, you can do that too. There are some pretty gnarly options that are like, oh yeah, I guess that is something that happens in cults. So that portion of the game is very much like almost like a city builder to a smaller scale. And I would say that that's where a lot of focus of the gameplay goes in. It's not as big on the fighting like Hades was. Hades like definitely had more of a central focus on the actual runs of going through the rooms and fighting, and then you could do stuff at home too, which was like a side funsies. In Cult of the Lamb, I would say it's kind of swapped, where the progression of your camp and your cult is kind of, I don't want to say outweighs or is better than, but there's more authority to it than the actual running out and fighting. So when you decide you are ready to go out and face the cruel world out there, you can go out on a run. And like I said, there are 4 different areas that you unlock, 1 for each bishop in the game. You go through and you pick a weapon and a spell that you can use throughout these randomly generated rooms that you'll run through, and it's different every time. You're never sure exactly what you're going to get. The rewards are also different every time that you clear a room. There are also NPCs and other side characters you have a chance of meeting when you go out on these little adventures, who will either give you lore or let you change weaponry. There's one that draws tarot cards, and the tarot cards are a big part of the runs themselves because they give you different power-ups and different abilities. So like maybe you heal better. When you do heal, you get like bonus healing applied, or maybe you leave an oil spill on the ground when you do a dodge roll and it hurts enemies or poisons them or something like that. And those tarot cards reset every run. So it's never quite the same build, it's never quite the same enemies. You go through each area and clear them each 3 times before reaching the 4th stage, which is the bishop. And once you defeat the bishop, you get better items to help you level up and become even stronger for the next one. So you go out, you fight, you get supplies, you get resources while you're out there. You kill the bishop, you go home, you feed your family, your cult family, you perform rituals for them, keep them happy, do what they ask you to do, otherwise they lose faith in you. And then you go out, you get stronger, and you fight the next one. And yeah, that's basically Cult of the Lamb in a nutshell. Now, I really like the life sim kind of aesthetic, like, you know, those Stardew Valleys, those farm simulators, where you can like have romances and things like that and just like build up a life. And that's pretty similar to this, except with the gruesome undertone of the fact that, you know, you are a cult leader. It's kind of dark. It's pretty dark. I'm going for a wholesome cult right now myself. As wholesome as it can be, I guess. But all of your followers come with random traits and personalities assigned. So like there are some people who are naturally skeptic, and when you recruit them into your cult, they immediately cause you to lose 10 faith, which is pretty easy to gain back once you get to like mid and late game, honestly. There are some followers who are honestly just little freaks and like they like being sick, or like they like seeing gross stuff around. So like if you don't have an outhouse built, your characters, your cult members will just poop on the floor. And then there's just poop all around your camp, so you don't want that, so you have to clean it up. Or like, I have them clean it up by building a janitor station, or just avoid the whole thing and build an outhouse. So like little things like that kind of stack up. But yeah, so even if you want to have a wholesome cult like me, I don't know, someone just might come up to you and be like, hey, I've got this dark secret and I need you to help me with it. And you're like, okay. And then they ask you to make them a bowl of poop so that they can eat it. They ask you to do that. That's like their dream. That's like, hey, I've got this dark passenger and only you can help me fulfill it. And if you say no, you lose like 35 to 45 faith. So yeah, I guess I'll make you a bowl of poop for you to eat. Like, it's just really ridiculous stuff like that. Or after a certain point you unlock a ritual where you can like marry your cult members, and like the game is like, it's your cult, you can marry as many as you want. Which doesn't feel great. But like, yeah, that checks out. So some of them will even ask like, hey, I love you, will you marry me? And again, if you say no, they lose faith. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world to lose faith, but it certainly is kind of a little bit of a setback depending on how you're doing. Like if you're already full, sometimes I'll say no to them if they're asking me for something ridiculous, like, oh, one character came up to me and was like, hey, let's play a prank on this other cult member. Why don't you make them eat a bowl of poop? And so I did. And, you know, it doesn't feel great, even if it's a fake video game, telling someone that they have to eat shit, literally. So I did it, reported back, and the character was like, wow, you're great, that's hilarious, what a good time, thanks for doing that. And then like a few days later, they came up to me again and were like, hey, you remember that time you made that dude eat shit? Why don't we do it again? It was so funny. And I was like, no, dude, I'm not doing that again. Like, sorry to disappoint, but stop bullying this guy. Stop bullying this other character. And you know, he walked away upset, but he hadn't asked me anymore, so that's good. But if you want to play the game that way, you absolutely can, and it gives you every mechanism possible to do so. There's options to have your followers eat cult member flesh, and like they die, so you can prepare them for burial, and like you can make a cemetery or and like put them in a grave. Or there's another option of being cannibalistic and feeding your followers that way. So yeah, like I said, pretty grim, pretty gruesome. But then it's all overlaid by the fact that your camp is like brightly colored and it's very vivid. And all of the cult members are really cute little woodland creatures. There's like a little fox, there's a little hedgehog, you get a pig, you get a cow. And then as you travel through the realms, you unlock different forms. So then you could have like a narwhal or a unicorn that's got blood on its horn and like stuff like that. You can also build decorations around and just really, you know, spruce the place up. In general, your character is like absolutely adorable. Like you can dance with your cult members and it's the cutest thing ever, but then like you'll go to preach a sermon and he'll start levitating in the air, go into a trance, and like his eyes are wide and blood's like just spouting from his eyes and from his mouth, and it's like, okay, sure. So yeah, it's a very cute game, but they certainly remind you pretty frequently of, you know, what you're doing, what you're participating in. Your lamb has this little hat on that's like the symbol of the one who waits below, and that's what I'm trying to make my eyeliner look like right now. A vague representation. While the fighting, like I said earlier, isn't maybe the biggest focus of the game, it is still very good. It is still very fluid. It's fun to run around, do dodge rolls, and like it has that good feeling of combat. If you play a lot of video games with combat, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's like smooth, it's satisfying, and it's challenging without being insanely difficult. I haven't beaten the game yet, but I am very interested in seeing what the story was, or is. You get info as you go about the old bishops and the one who waits below, and what their beef was basically with each other, and like kind of what's going on, but I haven't gotten any concrete details, and I'm still meeting a lot of mysterious people that aren't giving me a whole lot of details. So yeah, that's Call to the Lamb. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Content's probably not for everyone, but if you're not easily offended, then I'd say go for it. Well, like I said, it's really nice to be able to do this again and have time to do it again. And thank you guys so much for watching and for joining me with this. I hope you have a great day or night or whatever comes next for you. Bye!